Hey friends, in today's video I want to talk about the RNG in Destiny in regards to random loot drops. It's been a topic that's been popping up more on my YouTube recommended feed as well as on Twitter or X, whatever they call it. The main consensus I keep seeing is that they like a more random nature to the loot structure, and some will even emphasize that they would prefer not to have crafting if we could have some sort of RNG curbing or RNG determinism. And in the past, if you've checked my channel out, I've made a slide presentation on power creep overall, which does talk about sunsetting in there. And then I also made a crafting video that goes over the pitfalls of our current system with more discussion on how to salvage it, as well as what overall makes a good crafting system in games both with and without trading. So it would create a purpose to engage with all the content, have a deterministic endpoint or bad luck protection, which ultimately enables specific build crafting for a cost. All that being said, that brings us to the topic of today's video, which is that I don't think the current system of crafting is enough by itself, and/or I think the RNG for loot acquisition in the game is terrible right now. It's not deterministic enough, there's not enough RNG curbing, and yes, I know someone in the comment section has already typed it out. They go, random loot is fun. That's okay, you can have fun with what you want to have fun with, but in the context of Destiny, I disagree. In other games where you can trade, I think random loot makes sense. The harder the content and the more skilled the player, the more efficient the loot farm can be, which incentivizes improving skill or knowledge to better farm. Then you can vote with your time by selling the items to acquire currency, then you spend it on exactly what you need to enjoy the game more, whether that's fashion or some sort of gear upgrade that again tangibly makes a difference in the play. So for me, in the context of Destiny, random loot is a barrier to gearing, which is a barrier to enjoyment. Okay, so on screen now is the chance of a god roll. I was pretty loose with my requirements at the top and pretty specific towards the bottom, which is why the ones at the bottom have an abysmal percent. I'll go ahead and link the calculator in the description if you want to make any of these calculations on your own. So in any game of chance, if you roll the dice, if you pull the slot machine lever enough, eventually you will get what you want. So I'm going to do some napkin math about a meta weapon, Igneous Hammer. It comes from Trials of Osiris. So let's say you are a gamer. You're defeating opponents really quickly. You're completing games in about 7 minutes, which means in around 50 minutes you're going to finish a card. And then after you get your completed card, let's say you maintain around a 50% win rate for what is the 50% drop rate. That means every 4 games or so, around 30 minutes of investment, you would get one Igneous Hammer. And if Igneous Hammer has about a 10% chance of being a god roll, that's roughly a 5-hour investment. Zooming out and looking at the big picture, a 5-hour investment for a meta-defining weapon is an incredible value proposition, especially when compared to other options in the game. But that's not exactly how chance works, so to be abundantly clear, you could get lucky, you could get the perfect Igneous Hammer on your first drop ever. Or you could be like most people, play the entire weekend, and not even get a single salvageable roll of Igneous Hammer. For fun, let's do the napkin math again with the point of the stag bow from Iron Banner, which has a roughly 2 point something percent, let's just call it a 3% god roll chance, right? Iron Banner games, about 7 minutes. Let's say you put together a gamer squad who wins every match very quickly. It's about 500-ish rep per win, and you get about 30 engrams and a 10k reset if you don't count the ones that randomly drop. And so let's just say that's a 2-hour, 20-minute reset. So roughly, a point of the stag with a good swashbuckler roll is about a 7-hour investment. Napkin math again. Let's say Matador 64. You want a roll that will help you win a tournament. It's going to have a mix of range and handling. It's the Ogre encounter from Grasp of Avarice. If you have a gamer squad, speedrun squad, it's going to take you about 3 minutes with loads, and there's roughly 3 items in the loot pool, which is roughly a 15-hour investment. To tell you the truth, that sounds like a snack, assuming that I would get the god roll within 15 hours. But again, that is not how chance works. I bring up these 3 examples because, first of all, it's a great example of RNG variance between meta weapons right now, but I bring it up to say there should be some form of bad luck protection. I'm not saying you should get a guaranteed god roll Matador at 15 hours. Bungie can decide how high I have to jump for that. But at least guarantee it at a certain point, so you know exactly how much you're in for. That's a different suggestion, by the way, than making the entire game craftable, which would be ideal to me, but maybe not healthy for the player base. At the very least, you can meet me halfway and say, there is an RNG problem in this game, and there are so many fun ways to play the game, but because RNG variance is a thing, everybody plays the safe meta option that you're tired of seeing because it's the most likely loadout that they can obtain. So let's humor the idea that Bungie is going to either make loot deterministic or curve RNG. And so let me give you some example definitions of those. Deterministic example is, what if Rose was craftable, but to get the crafting pattern, you needed 500 wins when you are at max reputation in the Crucible. So as long as it says 10k and then you win, you get +1 to your Rose crafting counter. When it hits 500, you get the pattern and you get to craft it. Another deterministic example could be game-wide, like the Menagerie system, where you change runes on a card and that augments the likelihood of you getting perks on a certain drop, or in some cases guarantees it on the next drop if you sacrifice like endgame materials or something into that card. Just food for thought. Moving on, an example of curbing RNG is the way that the Vanguard and Crucible rank ups work. So if you get 3 or 4 rank ups, you start getting multiple perks in each row. So instead of having a 1 out of 12 chance, it's more like a 1 out of 4 chance. This could be a game-wide system though, just based on how much of the same loot item you see. Like if you see, for example, your 50th Rose hand cannon, you might have an extra perk row or 2. Which, by the way, while we're on the subject of those Vanguard and Crucible weapons, the Crucible SMG, 1% chance before RNG curb. Then it goes up to about a 2.6% chance when you consider the triple rows. Hey, if they want to give us a couple extra percent here and there, I will take it, but I'm still going to say and complain in this video that it is not enough. It is merely a band-aid. So with all the numbers crunched and a bar night shift amount of napkins used, someone's probably going to say, but Cam, if you get the God rolls, you're going to stop playing. I feel like in this case you're speaking for yourself, but Bungie definitely has the data that says that people play more when they have the system, otherwise it wouldn't exist. And you got me there. In the particular case of myself, I'm going to play pretty much the exact same amount, because to me the fun of this game and a lot of looter shooters isn't acquiring the God roll, ROLL, it is becoming a God at a particular role, ROLE. When I play a game like Destiny 2, I don't play just what is effective and what gets the W, what gets the day 1 completion. I play all of the content. I try all of the gear. I have fun with the gear by mixing different combinations and still trying to go fast in PvE, or win despite a disadvantage in PvP. I still wish PvP was balanced better, but you can't tell me what you see in just one singular PvP session doesn't activate a neuron or something within you. When you start exploring all the options in the game, there's crossover information and you become a better, more skilled player and can utilize more of the sandbox to do amazing things all across the game. And yet, some of these great ideas will never be searched, and I can't even recover an account or ask somebody, say, hey, do you have this specific combination of items in your vault? Because the chance of them having that is so minuscule, it's not even worth asking. For as much as I understand a Skinner's box making the gamer play the game more, which makes more revenue, better data for the investors, which makes more revenue, there's a curious side of me that just wants to see some of these combinations. So at a certain point, the hard pill to swallow for me is, I don't know if RNG will ever be deterministic or it will be curbed enough for me to try out a lot of these combinations I'm curious about. Maybe until Destiny 2 servers die, and maybe a decade later a modded server of Destiny 2 appears out of nowhere, and allegedly somebody who's curious like me could try out all those combinations, and allegedly they also wouldn't post content on it because they wouldn't want a cease and desist. Anyway, I digress. Don't be a pirate. But if you did want to be a pirate and acquire some pirate-themed gear in Destiny 2, I could tell you exactly how long that's going to take you based on RNG chance. No, wait, I can't. I think that one's time-gated, but I also ran out of napkins, so it doesn't matter anyway. But you understand what I'm getting at. Anyway, friends, I wish you the best of luck with your drops in Destiny if you like the crafting system, and I wish you the worst of luck if you like farming, so that you can have more fun farming.